Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. This is live stream number 1026. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and I'll usually pontificate a little bit about our hobby as well, but we're certainly not engaging in any mental heavy lifting of any sort. We are not investing ourselves into rocket surgery by any stretch. Nope, just hanging out, having some fun, talking about tabletop games. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, maybe there's something you'd like to discuss about the hobby following the news segment. By all means, if that's the case, fire away. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight, we've got 245 Trioxin, Kevin King, and Jose Fernandez. And I would think we might also have Miss Sarah D lurking in the shadows, one of our chat moderators, manning the banhammer. Very possibly. So let's jump on into the news because I've got quite a bit tonight, and it is an eclectic mix. So this really isn't a war game I'm going to talk about for a War Game Wednesday news piece, but it's a historical game. It's close because now up on the P500 pre-order list from GTM Games is Lenin's Legacy. And here's the skinny. Lenin's Legacy is a fast-paced, solitaire or two-player game about the power struggle between Stalin and Trotsky in the early days of the USSR, starting the moment Lenin's health began to weaken after a failed assassination attempt in 1918 and culminating with Lenin's death in 1924. Players will take on the role of either Stalin or Trotsky, playing cards from a common display plus one hidden card each to gain control of issues such as the NKVD, Politburo, and personal access to Lenin. Cards can also be played for specific historical events, and additional region and politician cards may enter play each round, favoring whichever player was able to control the relevant issue in the previous round. Victory can be achieved in three different ways: control of the army, domination of the party, or lasting fame after Lenin's death. Players must therefore balance short-term gains toward each of these conditions with long-term bonuses from regions and politicians, while also ensuring that their opponent is not able to play the cards that will benefit them. The result is a tense, fast-paced game where every card counts and you have to stay one step ahead of your opponent. Stalin's historical victory in this power struggle led to Trotsky's exile and eventual death in 1940, determining the course that the young Soviet Union would take over the following decades. In contrast to Trotsky's internationalism, Stalin was a proponent of socialism in one country, focusing on the survival of the Bolshevik government in Russia and building up the military and industrial capacity of the USSR. Stalin went on to purge several thousand internal opponents during the 1930s, including suspected allies of Trotsky. But under his leadership, the Soviet Union was also instrumental in defeating Nazi Germany and its allies during World War II. We can only speculate about how things might have turned out if Trotsky, instead of Stalin, had been leading the USSR, but history would certainly have been different. Lenin's legacy lets you recreate this critical period of world history, experiencing a struggle that undoubtedly shaped the 20th century. Lenin's legacy is for 1 or 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in about 20 to 40 minutes. Right now, it can be pre-ordered for the P500 price of $37 with an eventual MSRP of $54. And this is a Matthias Kramer design. Interestingly enough, I know Mr. Kramer tends to design Euro games, doesn't necessarily do a lot of design work for GMT. So I'm kind of curious about this. This could be pretty cool. All right, Travis Williams and Geraldine, as well as Royce, are hanging with the gang tonight. And Sarah D is present and accounted for. Sweet. This looks kind of interesting, though. And it looks like this is probably pretty quick playing. I'll look forward to checking this out after it, makes its way to print. I think it is doing pretty well on the P500 at the moment. Tessie Trekkie says, so Twilight struggle after Lenin dies? Well, I think there's some struggling going on prior to his death. I think this actually kicks off in 1918 after that failed assassination attempt. It's just the impression that I got. One thing I always found pretty interesting is, like, for an example, on the cover of this box, you're seeing that image right now. That is a doctored photo. They doctored that photo so Stalin looked bigger and taller next to Lenin. Just like it's not easy to find photographs of Trotsky in Russia because they tended to airbrush and paint him out of pictures. So it's pretty wild to see some photos that have emerged of Stalin, especially. And he'll be standing there looking out onto a river. It's okay, that's kind of an odd looking, just kind of framing to it. And then you see the original where there was actually somebody standing next to him and they were eliminated from the picture. Yeah, so you wonder where that Ministry of Truth in 1984 came from, huh? GameCat is with us in chat. Good to see you. Somebody said they are in on this. Who was it? I'm taking a quick... Oh, there you go. Royce says they are in on this. Sweet. All right, let's talk about some role-playing game news because a crowdfunding project for the second volume of Gods of the Forbidden North has launched on Kickstarter. It funded right away. I've got the latest from Pulp Hummock Press. Gods of the Forbidden North is a massive 3-volume mega adventure series by Pulp Hummock Press. The trilogy details a campaign setting, a wilderness hex crawl, a sprawling underworld with dozens of connecting surface tunnels, and most importantly, an old-school mega-dungeon, the dreaded Castle Tharganon. The second part of this mega-adventure is designed for a 5th-level party of 6 to 8 heroic player characters. Adventurers should reach a minimum of 9th level by the book's conclusion, although most parties will probably hit somewhere between 10th and 11th level if all encounters are exhausted. Gods of the Forbidden North Volume 2 details the underworld below the continent's surface, which has a total of 7 mid-level to high-level dungeons. Think of the underworld setting as a second wilderness area lying underneath the Arctic surface. Nearly 30 connection points exist between both maps, and a party of adventurers has total freedom to move back and forth between the surface and the underworld as they explore the Forbidden North. The trilogy is written for the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Laptop. What the hell? Can I not read today? I adjusted my camera, and it's kind of blocking off my teleprompter a little bit there. I'll just sit a little straighter. The trilogy is written for the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Tabletop role-playing game by Necrotic Gnome, which is, of course, a popular retro clone of Tom Moldvay's basic expert Dungeons & Dragons with a few added elements sprinkled in from AD&D. With little conversion effort, this mega-adventure could easily be adapted to any sufficiently old-school fantasy role-playing game, such as Swords and Wizardry, Shadowdark, Hyperborea, Osric, and/or Basic Fantasy. There is a quick Kickstarter video to give you a little more information about Gods of the Forbidden North, so let's give it a peek.
For 20 years, the realm has known peace. But there is more to this story. In the distance looms a forsaken relic, a solemn reminder of a darker past. It was here, on the border between the mountains and the wastes beyond, that Balor, the Skull God, constructed his fortress, Castle Tharganon, an ode to Balor's power and the dominion he held over the land. For centuries he ruled, commanding his armies of the undead from his blackened throne. But decades have passed since the routing of his armies, and the castle lies abandoned with riches unclaimed. But beware, for an ancient doom lies dormant in the depths of this place, whose halls whisper of malevolence reborn.
The Kickstarter for Gods of the Forbidden North Volume 2. Funded within its first few minutes, you can reserve a copy of the 350-plus page hardcover with digital files, aka PDF, maps, so forth, for a pledge of $49, or you can get just those digital files for a $19 pledge through March 28th. Expected delivery is this December, so not too shabby, a pretty quick turnaround. Now, those of you who follow the gaming gang, who tend to watch the live streams, maybe you were watching back when I was doing the live first looks, you might recall we took a peek at Volume 1. Yes, And I will actually have my review of Volume 1 this weekend. And I will actually give you a little spoiler. It is quite impressive. Got a couple of quibbles with it, but all in all, man, this is just packed with gaming goodness. Old school gaming goodness, I should say. Moving right along. We have Llewellyn, taking a guess at that pronunciation, joining us in chat. I believe this is a first-time visit. So welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. There is a new bundle of holding which has arrived, and it features the Chivalry and Sorcery role-playing game, as well as its Land of the Rising Sun setting from Brittannia Game Designs. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer! This new Chivalry and Rising Sun bundle presents the Chivalry and Sorcery tabletop role-playing game of medieval fantasy adventure from the aforementioned Brittannia Game Designs, along with the new 2021 version of its Land of the Rising Sun campaign setting. Among the oldest fantasy role-playing games still published, Chivalry and Sorcery depicts an authentic feudal Europe with nobles, knights, Christian priests, and medieval doctrines. The game focuses not on dungeon crawls, but on the feudal system, court intrigue, tournaments and jousts, and a comprehensive catalog of ordinary life. Want to foil an assassination plot at a royal wedding? Clear a pack of bandits from Craig Hill in Somerset? Or find a missing priest and recover his tithes from a haunted keep? Chivalry and Sorcery helps you tell all these stories with authority and conviction. And Land of the Rising Sun, newly expanded by Lee Gold, the designer of the 1980 first edition, brings the same historical focus to Japan's feudal period, 850 to 1500 CE. And it's also updated to the Chivalry and Sorcery 5th edition rules. For just $14.95, you'll get all 9 titles in the Chivalry collection, which have a retail value of $78.50 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Chivalry and Sorcery 5th edition core book, along with the CNS basic rules and the character generator Excel spreadsheet, Goblins, Orcs, and Trolls, the European Folklore Bestiary, and 3 recent CNS adventures, Curse of the Casket, Facets of Fire, and the Welsh Connection, and the sourcebook Castles of Britain, as well as the Game Master's Screen. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $25.54, you'll level up and also get the entire Rising Sun collection, with 4 more CNS supplements worth an additional $55, including the 2021 Land of the Rising Sun campaign setting and its Rising Sun Folklore Bestiary, map pack, and adventure book. These savings will run through March 18th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to the Honey Pot Children's Charity. Sweet! Very nice. Very nice. I have never taken a look at Chivalry and Sorcery. I have always heard that it is an exceptionally crunchy system, which has kind of kept me away from it. So I'm kind of curious how things would play out if you set Harn up against Chivalry and Sorcery. Because Harn is relatively crunchy, although it is a fictional world. It is not a fantasy Europe like Chivalry and Sorcery. I'm kind of curious. I am kind of curious. So W Forge is with us in chat, talking about that video we watched. Says, wouldn't it be a fresh concept to have a narrator speak for once in a high-pitched voice? All right. So Leland says they are Chris Lundgren's wife. Well, welcome aboard. Thanks for stopping on by. Chris is always popping on into chat, as well as, I want to say, I think Chris follows me on Facebook. It's one of the social media accounts that I've got that Chris chimes in from time to time. Anyway, so you can once again save big bucks on Chivalry and Sorcery in this bundle of holding through March 18th. Our next news piece, now in stores from Modiphius Entertainment, is Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 Mission Dossier Volume 2. And I mean 2, not so. The Dark Beyond. Here's what I know. Adventures from the home front to the frozen wastes of the Arctic. This second mission dossier for Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 contains the 4 main mission releases from the second year of the award-winning role-playing game, including Operation Wallace, Operation Marseille, Operation Snowstorm, and Operation Fallen Star. Also included are the Halloween Horrors and Malevolent Grove releases, plus The Mighty Jungle, a brand new terrain engine which allows you to generate your own jungle-themed adventures. From battling strange cults during the hell of the London Blitz, to the mean streets of Vichy-occupied Marseille, to the biting chill of the blizzards of British Columbia, to an eerie abandoned weather facility near the North Pole, to the terrors of a malevolent woodland, you can use these adventures to dispatch your agents on a thrilling series of missions as they develop their careers during the early part of the Secret War. Experience domestic espionage, hallucinogenic trips into the dreamlands, strange frozen horrors, powerful otherworldly entities, nefarious villains from your deepest nightmares, journeys through malign forests, or plot a perilous path through steaming jungles. If your agents can survive these missions, they'll become experienced operatives in Achtung Cthulhu's Secret War. These 5 awesome adventures can be played as one-offs, linked together, or easily incorporated into existing campaigns. Then, of course, explore the Mighty Jungle, an awesome terrain engine for randomly generated adventures. This offers a mix of espionage, combat, investigation, and exploration gameplay in a wide variety of environments to suit all play styles. There are maps, handouts, and pre-generated villains to enhance your tabletop experience for both players and game masters. Now, keep in mind, this does require the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 core books to run. And if you purchase this through Modiphius Entertainment or their partners, you will receive the accompanying PDF immediately upon purchase. Well, you get it immediately upon purchase if you do it through Modiphius Entertainment. If you order it through a partner, I believe you will get a code in the book. So this hardcover with PDF is out now, carries an MSRP of $32. Like I said, it is in stores. You might be wondering, well, Jeff, what about the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG? Well, these adventures have already been out in PDF, except for that jungle terrain generating engine. That is new. Speaking of new, just arriving today is the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 starter set. Yes. Gonna take a peek at this. I got some goodies that arrived today. I will show you a couple of others in just a few moments, but this segues right into from the news piece, so why not? Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. We've been getting quite a lot of stuff from Modiphius Entertainment. We are supposed to be receiving the Fallout, what is it called? Fallout Factions, their skirmish level miniatures game, which strangely enough, I thought Fallout Wasteland Warfare well, a skirmish level, because it's only one. It's, I mean, like you only have like 10, maybe 15 figures on a side. I don't know. I have no idea. I think they have revamped the miniatures game line for Fallout, but we should be seeing that soon too. Very, very nice. So Llewellyn says that she and Chris watched together. Nice. Sarah and her boyfriend used to watch in separate rooms. I don't think her boyfriend watches anymore, which is okay. Say it all the time. I am not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. Wild Hunter is with us, says Chivalry and Sorcery was the first role-playing game they ever played after Skirmish Wargaming. They just bought this whole bundle. Even if you're not a CNS player, it's worth it as a medieval resource. I would think so. Yeah, as well. I would think so too. That bundle is probably pretty cool if you're looking to do fantasy role-playing games that have that European feel to it. And if you're trying to do like a, fantasy England, fantasy Germany, fantasy France sort of deal. Wild Hunter also says Dark Beyond looks good. Achtung is on their collection list. Nice. All right, final news piece. The Dragonbane Bestiary is now available in print and PDF from Free League Publishing. You should know this because I shared a first look video of it. Now I'm sharing a news piece as well as a contest. Zoinks, what? Anyway, I've got the dope about the book. Oh, will no good deed go unpunished? I suppose time will tell, but right now things are looking bleak indeed. I have wandered, ridden, climbed, crawled, and swum all over this earth. I have spoken with all manners of creatures, observed, analyzed, and recorded almost everything worth knowing about the people and beings of the world. And yet here I am, unthanked and crouched in a God-forsaken crevice, hunted by several of the creatures that I've graciously included in my catalog. How astoundingly rude. Theodora Sneezewort, one of a kind. From cat people to chimeras, fairies to frog people, hippogriffs to hydras, and much more. This bestiary for the Dragonbane role-playing game includes no less than 63 wondrous creatures for the player characters to encounter. Each of them is brought to life in text and art, as well as a random encounter and a seed for a complete adventure. Among these fantastic beings, there are 9 new playable kin, each with their own unique ability. Johan Egerkrans and David Brasgala, I almost said Bragsala, it's Brasgala, gloriously illustrate this full-color book. Now, the 144-page hardcover with PDF is going to carry an MSRP of $39.99. I have conflicting reports. So it's either out in stores or it arrives March 15th. I have seen online retailers say that, yes, they've got it in stock. And I have seen others say it arrives March 15th. And these online retailers are here in the United States. They're not all over the place. Because, yes, that would make sense. We do see releases arrive on different continents at different times. But that is not the case. But I can tell you, the PDF is available. Because you can grab the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. Now, if you happen to order the hardcover from Free League Publishing, you will get the PDF pretty much immediately, within a few moments. So there is that. And of course, as I had mentioned, you can get a nice dive inside if you check out my first look video. Sweet. Very, very nice. And I also have a contest to give away a copy of the Dragonbane Bestiary in PDF to one lucky viewer, and I will tell you about the contest in just a moment. So Sarah D says, don't take offense, Jeff. Eddie is simply focused on classes right now. I'm lucky if he remembers I'm here most days. Oh, I never took any offense that we don't see Mr. Eddie D. Wasn't it Eddie D? Eddie T? P? Z? No, it's not Z. I thought it was Eddie D. I thought that was it. Maybe I don't. I know it was Eddie. Chris Lundgren is chiming on in, saying hello. Wild Hunter says, I love the Dragonbane system, but almost immediately brought in-house rules. Luckily, they are easily added to Dragonbane. One biggie was Monster Initiative. We all hated that monsters go first. Eddie T, that was it. I brought that up in my review when I did my review of Dragonbane because I enjoyed it. I thought it's a pretty cool, nice rule light system to jump on into. But my players would be the same way as far as the initiative. It's like no, they're not going to dig the initiative system like that with the cards and stuff. Although I do like it, I know that they would not. They'd be like, no, I want to roll dice. It's like if I happen to have like a higher dexterity, agility, what have you, they should be getting some sort of a bonus, which they have feats or traits or abilities, forget what they call them in Dragonbane, which will allow you to get more than one card dealt to you for initiative. I don't know. But yes, I think initiative is a sticking point for some folks out there when it comes to Dragonbane. Kabuki Kid is with us in chat. Very nice. Very nice. Alrighty, so I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG during the news. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, say maybe Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I will get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Refreshing. And yes, thankfully, there are a lot of folks out there who utilize our banner ads for the One Bookshelf sites, as well as visit paypal.me/thegaminggang. So thank you very much. Big tip of the cap to all of you. Chris Lundgren says the only historical role-playing game they own so far is Lion and Dragon and Pendragon 6th edition, the starter set. Yes, because we know in April we'll get the core book and a campaign. But we really don't know anything about it. That's it. We just saw cover art. So I haven't shared any news about that. Death Angel's Shadow is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. So I mentioned I'm going to give away a copy of the bestiary in PDF to a lucky viewer. Got to be taking part in chat to be in the contest. So I am going to ask you a question. It is going to be based on something that you are going to see in the next few moments. First person to give me the correct answer will win. And of course, we'll get stuck in with that after a brief intermission.
it's refreshment time. And our refreshment stand is loaded with good things to eat. There's crispy, crunchy popcorn and hot, delicious buttered popcorn. Lots of candy and frosty, refreshing cold drinks. Why not treat yourself at the refreshment center now?
Financing a new home can be a nightmare. Or it can be a joy. Find out about an FHA-insured home mortgage. Write for a free consumer bulletin to FHA, Home Financing, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Washington, D.C., and banish the nightmare. Back, get back. I hate these visual demonstrations.
Look, it's Green Cross Man.
Looks like you two need a lesson in crossing the road. My little friend is going to show you how. First, find a safe place to cross.
Here?
Safe place away from parked cars, where you can see the road is clear and drivers can see you. Stop near the curb, but not too close. Look all around and listen for traffic. If traffic is coming, let it pass. When there is no traffic near, walk straight across, looking and listening all the time. We won't be there when you cross the road, so always use the green cross hand.
How's that cigar I gave you?
I like it better than that Wilkins coffee.
Stronger, too, isn't it?
I am Quick Claude. I do everything fast.
Marathon John, you can't eat a marathon candy bar fast, Quick Claude. It lasts a good long time.
I show you. Milk chocolate, delicious caramel, and chewy.
Told you, nobody eats a marathon bar quick, Claude.
Marathon lasts a good long time.
I thought those kids were going to get clobbered. Boy, they sure made that look realistic, didn't they? So here's your question. In order to win a copy of the Dragonbane Bestiary in PDF, we were just watching a British public information film. We tend to call them PSAs. They call them PIFs. If you can tell me who played Green Cross Man, and you are the first to let me know in chat, you will win a copy of, once again, the Dragonbane Bestiary in PDF. Very nice. Very nice. I do recall that Marathon Candy Bar that was, I want to say, I think that was like late 70s, mid to late 70s, thereabouts. All it was chocolate-covered caramel in like a chain shape. And I love how they make it like, oh my gosh, the thing is, it's huge, it doesn't stop. Wild Hunter is our winner. Wild Hunter wins a copy of the Dragonborn Bestiary. That's right, it is David Prowse, also known as Darth Vader. And as Kabuki Kid points out, yep, also of Clockwork Orange fame. There you have it. Sort of like, oh, okay. So the guy who was in the Darth Vader suit was also doing children's PIFs. Okay. Yeah, kind of strange how David Prowse made himself very unwelcome in the world of Star Wars. Yes, if you're not familiar with that story, it came to a boil at one point where David Prowse was actually banned from any Star Wars event, like Star Wars conventions, things like that. So it all started with, as far as I understand, that now, of course, this was long before we had the internet and spoilers and things like that. Now, David Prowse gave an interview to, I think it was the San Francisco Inquirer, where he was just kind of riffing on what was going to happen in the next films, right? So this is after Star Wars has been out. It's a massive hit. Empire Strikes Back hasn't even been written yet. Script hasn't even been written. And I know George Lucas has talked many, many times about how, he knew, he had the whole story in his head, and that's not really true. It's a lot of stuff he came up with on the fly. So anyway, David Prowse is giving this interview, and he says that you're going to see a big battle, a lightsaber battle with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and that you're going to find that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. So, of course, the father can't kill the son can't kill the father. So then that'll carry on into the movie after that. And eventually, George Lucas found out and was pissed. And here, David Prowse was just, riffing. He just, all right, this is what's going to happen. He was just bullshitting some reporter. So that was the first strike. And then, before Return of the Jedi came out, there was another interview that he did. Now, I think this was actually in England because they were shooting it. And a reporter came up to David Prowse and said, hey, did you know that they're replacing you as Darth Vader? That Darth Vader is going to die in this movie. They're going to take his mask off, and they've brought in this actor to play Darth Vader, which I guess George Lucas had always promised if Vader took his mask off, it would be David Prowse. So David Prowse was like, what? What are you talking about? So the reporter showed him the call sheet, and the call sheet showed Darth Vader, Studio One, David Prowse at a certain time, and then it showed, what was his name? Was it Sebastian Stan? Was that his name? Which is weird because you also have Sebastian Stan. Or maybe it was Stan Sebastian, something like that. Anyway, the actor who plays, Anakin Skywalker for a moment in the original, release of Return of the Jedi. So anyway, he sees that Anakin Skywalker is played by this other actor, and he's in another studio, and he's like, so Gerlin says Shaw. Yeah, no, Kabuki Kid says Sebastian Stan is Bucky. Right, I know, that's why I was like, what was this guy's name? Sebastian Shaw, thank you. Thank you very much. So the reporter ends up publishing a story, and I think, if I remember correctly, the headline of the story is Darth Vader dies in new Star Wars movie. David Prowse confirms or something like that. And here, he didn't even know. It was a reporter who told him about it. Which I think that was kind of, another straw breaking the camel's back there. I think finally it got to the point when there was that documentary, People versus George Lucas, and David Prowse was in it. He was kind of talking schmack about George Lucas. I think that was the end. I think that was... So, well, they're talking about Robert Shaw in Jaws. Robert Shaw was a really good actor. Really good actor. bit of a drinker, but he was an excellent actor. And he died young. He died mid-50s, I think. I think that was about his age. All righty. So there you go. There was a little bit of a story about David Prowse. So Wild Hunter needs to send me an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com so I can make sure to get him a copy of the bestiary in PDF. I'm trying to look at giving away more stuff on the show and on the channel and through our social media accounts and so forth. So that will be compliments of my friends over at Free League Publishing. And of course, I'm going to have my review of the bestiary very shortly. So a few things going on. So I mentioned I got the starter set for Achtung Cthulhu. There you get a better view of it. I don't know when this hits stores. I don't think it's out yet. I think this is on the horizon. I think this might be a March release. So give you a little better look. But I also got a package from Roll for Combat. So I got, these are for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The Battle Zoo Bestiary Strange and Unusual. As well as Jewel of the Indigo Isles. Which this one's pretty hefty. This looks like this is probably about 350, 400 pages here. Tell you what, I'll take a peek. About 414 off the top of my head. So there you got that. Sweet. Chris Lundgren asks, Jeff, what is the learning curve on that? I believe you're asking about Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. Just confirming that. It is middle of the pack, maybe a little crunchier. So a little crunchier than, say, like Star Trek Adventures is one of the lighter of the 2D20 titles out there, although just had the news piece yesterday talking about the new edition of Star Trek Adventures, which is going to arrive in April. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not April. It's going to arrive for Gen Con. That's when it's coming out. And it's supposed to be streamlined to make it a little easier. So I think they do realize that even the lightest weight 2D20 systems are still rather meaty for most people who would probably be interested in playing a Star Trek role-playing game. So I think that's why we have that going on. I don't think 2D20 is that crazy to wrap your head around. I will be honest, though, it can be kind of clunky because it's not the sort of mechanics that you're used to playing with. In some ways, it's reminiscent of the Dark Eye, because the Dark Eye, you're rolling multiple 20-sided dice. And as well, I was going to say respected, but I don't know if that's the case. As well regarded, I guess we'll say, the Dark Eye is in Europe. To me, it's clunky. And when I reviewed it quite a ways back, I mentioned that too, that I personally felt that it was pretty clunky. Not so much 2D20. 2D20 is not as wonky, is another word that I like to use from time to time, as the Dark Eye. But it is a little odd. So Travis Williams says, the little exposure I've had with 2D20, it doesn't feel intuitive. Yeah, that's it. That is one of the things, because it's not roll a 20-sided die, roll higher, okay. Or I've got so many 6-sided dice, I've got a pool of dice, I'm looking to roll 6s on them or 4s and higher, or whatever. Those are the kind of things that we tend to see in a lot of role-playing games. The 2D20, and the thing is, sometimes you're not rolling two 20-sided dice. Sometimes you're rolling one. Maybe you're rolling more than two. But still, the series themselves, the games themselves, have a lot to them as far as the research that goes into the games. There was a question, is it similar to the 2D20 for Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of? And it is easier, at least in my opinion, than that. I think that, to me, was probably one of the crunchier editions of, or versions, I guess I'll say, of 2D20. But the thing is, those Conan books were amazing. They were phenomenal as far as the research that went into them. So, I mean, you could pick up the Conan books and not have any interest whatsoever in running the 2D20 system. You could port that information over to other games because there was, and the artwork in that, just really, really well done. I wish I had an opportunity to have gotten those books when they were out, because I don't own any of them. I got a couple in PDF from Modiphius Entertainment to do reviews of. And then we hit that point where I really wasn't getting anything from Modiphius Entertainment. We talk about it all the time. Companies change marketing people, marketing person leaves, take all their contacts with, and then some new marketing person comes in, and sorry to say, many of them have absolutely no clue what they're doing. They think their job in marketing is to jump on social media accounts and pat themselves on the back. It's sort of like, preaching to the choir isn't exactly your job. Your job is to increase the size of that choir. So, Shar Aznable is with us once again. Sorry, I have not said hello to you. You've been here for a while. So they're saying that their friend has a bunch of the Conan 2D20 books. It's how they learned how to play it in the first place. Also pointing out, definitely very crunchy. Chris Lundgren's asking, has there ever been a quick start rule set for the for Call of Cthulhu? Yes. Yes, there is. Absolutely free, and it also includes, I believe, it is a solo adventure, but it's very short. If it's still the same one that they had floating around out there. Now, I will point out, if you're curious about Call of Cthulhu, check out my review of the starter set, because the starter set is absolutely fantastic. Now, granted, Call of Cthulhu is my game, not like legally, but it is the game I've run for over 4 decades and I turn to all the time. So, I have that soft spot for it. Maybe it's not really a soft spot. Maybe it's just madness. But the starter set's really, really well done. And it's pretty cheap if you want to pick it up in PDF. I think it's like $10. Probably $9.99 over at Drive-Thru RPG. The starter set itself, the physical box set, is $29.99, I want to say. But the thing is, it includes like 3 or 4 adventures. Off the top of my head, I seem to recall that it's 3 booklets. One is a solitaire adventure, because that's one of the things that Chaosium Inc. likes to do is they like to have a solitaire adventure to teach you how to play the game. So to give you the basics of the mechanics, you get kind of, it's like a create your own adventure, choose your path sort of adventure. And then we also have an adventure book, which includes a trio of introductory adventures, including one by Chris Spivey, Dead Man Stomp, which takes place, if memory serves, in Nolans, and it's really good. So that is jam-packed. It's got dice. It's got everything you need. Only thing that the starter sets never have, well, okay, I take that back. Traveler's starter set has it, but Traveler's starter set is the actual core rule book broken up into 2 books. You're not missing anything by picking up the starter set as opposed to getting the core book. And the starter set also includes a campaign book. I forget what one it is off the top of my head, but that is the only starter set I can think of off the top of my head that does have character creation in it. So normally starter sets give you pre-generated characters. And what was the one we just looked at that had like 16 pre-generated characters? I think it was the RuneQuest starter set. It was like, holy cow. It's like they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. Roger Perdome is joining us. Welcome aboard. Travis Williams says, Modiphius have amazing game worlds. It's too bad they won't go with a different game system. Even the D6 pool or D20 roll under if they want something different. I agree. I think a lot of the Modiphius Entertainment IPs that they've got would be far better served if they were not 2D20. And like I said, 2D20 is not terrible. I have run across far worse mechanical systems for role-playing games in my lifetime. So it's certainly not bad. It's just, as mentioned previously, it's just not intuitive for gamers. And even as someone who's never played role-playing games, the mechanics seem odd. Even as a newcomer to the hobby, I would think people find that a little bit odd. Wild Hunter says, Dead Man Stomp, oldie but a goodie. Kevin R. Smith says, Call of Cthulhu has quick-fire character creation. Yeah, character creation for Call of Cthulhu isn't, it's not too bad. A little longer than some games. It's certainly not an OSR sort of character creation because you do have points that you're going to, buy skills, especially with your like generalized points that you get. But I personally find the percentile system that you find with the games from most of the games from Chaosium Inc. is probably one of the most intuitive systems for people to learn how to play role-playing games because it's the percentile dice. And what is there that you won't understand about 50% chance of succeeding, 80% chance of succeeding? So telling somebody, hey, you need to roll 15 or higher on a 20-sided die, it's going to take them a moment to figure out, So what are my chances there? Wild Hunter says, I would love Modiphius to collaborate with Chaosium like they did with Achtung Cthulhu. I don't know if you'll see that again. I honestly don't. Not that there was any like animosity or anything like that. But you got to remember, too, that when the original Achtung Cthulhu was out, that was a whole different crew over at Chaosium Inc. That was the group that almost put the company out of business. So I don't know. I don't see that would happen. To be honest, I would think, this is just me spitballing, right? I would actually think that something along the lines of maybe the Year Zero engine from Free League Publishing would be a good fit for the various different 2D20 games. So the reason why I mention that is because the Year Zero engine has different versions of that too. Like we have the different kinds of 2D20 games from Modiphius Entertainment. We have the same thing with the Year Zero engine, because we have the Year Zero engine, which you have a pool of 6-sided dice. All you got to do is roll a 6 on your dice to succeed. Now, you might be rolling 1 die or 2 dice. Maybe you get 4 dice. Doesn't matter. Still looking for a 6 in order to succeed. But then we take a look at the Year Zero engine, almost said Mutant Year Zero engine, because that's where it originates from, is Mutant Year Zero. For Twilight 2000, and now that changes, where it's still, you're rolling a die, you're looking to get a certain number or higher. In this case, off the top of my head, it's 4, if I remember right. But you have all different sized dice. So the bigger your die, the better you are at something. And it goes up to the 12-sided die. So a 12-sided die is, you're like world-class kind of expert on something. Whereas if you're rolling, say, a 4-sided die, you're pretty unskilled. But that, I think, would work really well. So if you carried over, say, some of the mechanics of like Twilight 2000 over to Fallout, still got the crunch, because Twilight 2000 is, at least in my opinion, the crunchiest of the Year Zero engine games out there. And then you could go with something from like the traditional Year Zero engine, say like what powers Tales from the Loop or Things from the Flood. That is the easiest games in the Year Zero line that, at least in my opinion, to get stuck into, because they're aimed at a different sort of player. They're aimed at games that, like Kids on Bikes stories for Tales from the Loop, and then a little darker than Kids on Bikes stories for Things from the Flood, but still very easy to get into. Char points out Forbidden Lands works really well for Conan. There you go. There's another Year Zero engine role-playing game. I think that is very cool. I like it a lot. I reviewed it. It was the box set that came out, which is not a starter set. It's just a box set with hardcover books inside and other goodies. Was one of my favorite games of the year when it came out. It was featured on my favorite games of, what was it? 2020, something like that, 2021, something along those lines. Kevin R. Smith points out, Free League does have open license for Year Zero engine. Even the Twilight 2000 rules, they actually have a pretty active community for their games. I noticed that we get new releases for various different Free League games through the community offerings on Drive-Thru RPG quite a bit. Agile Monk is popping on in, asking how their favorite YouTuber and channel are doing tonight. I don't know, are you talking to me? Talking to me? Welcome. Viper Dave is also joining the gang. Good to see you. So a few other things I did want to mention relatively quickly. One is, got to get our views up, everybody. Got to get our views up. And one of the best ways to do that is comment on the videos. I notice the past few shows, either no comments or maybe one comment. And that doesn't get YouTube to pop this up in people's, recommended videos. Is, one comment here or there. So we went through a period where we went for about a week where the live show was pulling in 500 views. And that was within about the first week of them airing. Then the next week we were down to about 400. Now we're having a hard time cracking 3. I'm just saying. So if you have an opportunity, of course, you already know. Give the videos a thumbs up. But if you have an opportunity, just take a moment to pop a comment on. I don't expect you to write a novella. I just expect you to just say, hey, enjoy the show tonight. Or, oh, I didn't know about blah, blah, blah. If there's a news piece that you see and you're like, oh, man, that interested me. I'm going to look at buying that or pre-ordering that. Throw it in there in a comment. Viper Dave says, great show. Love your show. Just can't come here every day. Yeah, that's fine. I don't expect everybody to watch every single episode, so. Death's Angel Shadow says they sent me an email. Were they the first one to say David Prowse? Because the first one I saw was Wild Hunter, but you got to remember, I'm not staring at the chat all the time. Chris Lundgren says, I need to try Kids on Bikes. Looks cool. It's all right. It's okay. To be honest, I would certainly recommend Bubblegum Shoe over Kids on Bikes. I thought Bubblegum Shoe was excellent. I don't know if it's in print or not, if it's available in print. So Death Angel Shadow says, no, that wasn't me. Okay, well, I saw that you were sending me an email, so I was like, oh, did I get the winner wrong? Agile Monk says, love this channel and the team. Thank you. The team is mainly me. My brother does a little bit of comic book news. And of course, Sammy Uhas does reviews as well. Agile Monk just made a super chat for $19.99. Thank you very kindly. Thank you very, very much. Should point out, don't necessarily want to do super chats and that because, Google takes half of it. But I am certainly not going to say, oh, don't do that. But yes, thank you very much. Always appreciated. Death Angel Shadow says, no, their email's about something else. Agile Monk says they bought a number of products based on my reviews. One thing I should mention, I say it from time to time. If there's something that you see me do a review of, or maybe I do a first look video and that leads you to purchase something, you should always just say real quickly to that publisher, just shoot them a quick email to their contact, say, hey, just want to let you know, I bought XYZ because I saw Jeff over at the Gaming Gang review it or do a first look at it. Because I say it all the time. Publishers don't know where their customers come from. The vast majority of them do not. So my best friend Elliot Miller is in chat, which, funny enough, we were talking that he's been watching the Random Musings portion of the last few shows. And no joke, I was thinking today, because I know his wife is out of town with her sister on vacation. Well, not vacation, but a sister's trip. Because they'd be like, yeah, she's going on vacation without her husband. Now it's a sister's trip. And this way, Elliot gets to go to Lake Geneva with me for Founders and Legends. So yes, it is voice of E, that is Elliot. I was so tempted to call him today and say, hey, you know what? You should just hang out and chat tonight. So Elliot asks, hey, buddy, do you think it's harder to play Call of Cthulhu these days because no one really remembers how to do research the old way anymore? Like without internet, I mean? Huh. Agile Monk says, Super Chats actually help stats. I did not know that. Got to point out, I am not necessarily the most informed person about the algorithms and things like that. Once again, I am not a clickbaity sort of guy. We've talked about that in the past too. All right, so do I think it's harder to play Call of Cthulhu because no one remembers how to do research? I don't think so. I would say that it is probably easier these days to run Call of Cthulhu as a keeper, as a game master, than it would have been when we got started in the early 80s, because we can look things up. We can go online and be like, oh, okay, so, I got an idea for an adventure, but I need a place where there was a big fire and a bunch of people lost their lives, because that's going to tie into the horror, whatever. You can easily find that stuff online. Or maybe there's a historical figure that you want to include into your adventure, even as kind of a throwaway NPC. Just pop online, look something up, get an idea for it. As far as playing it as a player, I don't think it's harder. I think just as a role player, I think it's a little more difficult to be a role player these days than it was when we were kids, when we were teenagers. And I think it's mainly because we have so much competing for our entertainment time. So I would say, like, as an example, when Elliot and I were kids, we would, if we picked up a new game, like Elliot ran Stormbringer or Fast's Star Trek, Elliot read that book cover to cover before he ran a game. And he probably went back and forth reading that book, maybe not cover to cover again, but focusing on things that maybe didn't click. I did the same thing. You already know. I read loads and loads of role-playing games that I never ran. Talk about it all the time. So Sassy Trekkie has shut off a super chat for $79.99. I think it's Australian. So super chats help stats. Oh, I can summon the dark gods of the Algor Nami rhythm with my sacrifice of cash. Thank you very much. Flaming Heron's with us. So we have two of our chat moderators. I think the Madman, our third chat moderator, I think it's his gaming night tonight. So I think that's why we don't have him hanging with us. Anyway, thank you very much. Really, really do appreciate that. Most definitely. So thank you. I got to be honest. I'm always shocked when somebody tosses a super chat. It's like, what the hell is that? Oh, that's what that is? I'm thinking it's like some warning from YouTube saying, hey, you said fuck. We're going to shut down your stream. That's it. You're done. We don't allow that kind of dirty talk on our airwaves or internet waves. But as a player, I think, and I think it might be tougher for game masters in this respect too, that a lot of times, not all players, but a good number of players will show up to your game table and not know anything about the game, even if they've gotten a PDF of the rules and have been told, hey, you know what, take a peek at this. I don't expect you to know it back and forth, but get an idea. And then they don't do that. And then they show up at your table expecting, to just, know how to play the game by osmosis. It's like, ooh, wait. I'm absorbing it. Oh, now I know how to play Call of Cthulhu. So I think in some ways that makes it more difficult for players. And I don't think it's only with Call of Cthulhu. I think it's with just about any role-playing game. But then on the flip side, you'll also have players who will study the rules far deeper than the game master ever does, and who are always sitting there trying to rules lawyer through everything, which will drive a game master nuts. And you know, I've said this before, in my youth, I was a rules lawyer. Not really anymore. And Elliot can attest to this. When we play board games and stuff like that, I get my ass handed to me and I'm just like, yeah, okay. Once in a while, I'll be like, God damn it. But very rarely. But back in the day, it'd be like, oh, no, hold on a moment. You got to remember Rule 10.7.9.11, which states, Gerlin says, I had a player briefly who clearly thought she was just going to pick it up through osmosis. Damn irritating. So Elliot points out, no, not anymore. I'm not a rules lawyer anymore. So there was a question that popped up. Hopefully I answered Elliot's question. Kind of danced around it a bit, but. So there is a discussion of researching at the library. So Chris Lundgren asks, says, Jeff, forgive my ignorance, but my wife, Louisa, wants to know if there is anything like werewolves in Call of Cthulhu stories. If we're talking about Lovecraft stories, okay. So this will probably I need to refill my diet soda here. And unfortunately, the store was out of my diet right. So I had to get Sam's Club Zero Sugar. So if we're going to, talking about werewolves. So are we talking about werewolves as we're talking about lycanthropes? Is it specifically a wolf we're talking about? Because if you are familiar with Dance Macabre from Stephen King, which I love that book. I've had both editions in audiobook. There are like horror tropes. One is the ghost. One is the werewolf. And the werewolf isn't necessarily a werewolf. The werewolf trope is the hidden danger. The show one face, but there's really another behind that mask. That is the werewolf. There are Lovecraft stories which contain that sort of werewolf. So the thing on the doorstep is a story where that's a werewolf story. That the woman is not the female, well, she's not the protagonist. She's the villain, actually. Isn't who she says she is. And that would be an example of Stephen King's version of the werewolf. But as far as like, Larry Talbot, no. There are no Lovecraft stories that feature werewolves. There are werewolves in Call of Cthulhu Adventures. There's one in Massive Nyarlathotep. Yeah, actually, you know what? Funny enough, Elliot remembers that real well. Yes. Yes, that's actually something that he remembers real well from when I ran Massive Nyarlathotep back in the 80s. And of course, it was not as written. So Death Angel Shadow asks, is she wanting to play a werewolf? The reality is you could squeeze something like that in, but it's really not in the vein of Call of Cthulhu. And that doesn't mean that somebody can't be cursed, but you're not going to like create a character and be like, oh, okay, so let me get this special ability. Oh, I'm a shape changer. Okay, I'll take that. Wild Hunter says Chaosium Fiction Mark of the Beast. It's a collection of werewolf stories. Kevin R. Smith says technically Call of Cthulhu can be used for regular horror as well, though they're not sure if there are stats for standard werewolves in the core rules. I don't think there is. Now, it's possible that werewolves are in the bestiary, the monstrous... I don't remember the title of it. It's 2 volumes. I would take a guess werewolves are in that. I would think so. So Flaming Heron says, well, it's something they'd allow as long as it had its negatives. Yeah, right. I would agree with you on that. It's not something most keepers would be rolling on in to like, oh yeah, well, here's something good for your player characters. That's usually not the case. Call of Cthulhu. Wild Hunter says werewolves are in the main Call of Cthulhu book. There you go. Just goes to show you how often I dig into the rule book. I've discussed how I run Call of Cthulhu in the past. Chris says they think the role-playing game, The Monsters Are Our Heroes, is an option. I also know in the past there was a werewolf role-playing game. Well, there is Werewolf the Apocalypse and its various offshoots of that where the player characters are shape changers. It is a World of Darkness game. So it's, you know, in that same Vampire the Masquerade universe. So that might be something you look into. But the reality is that is Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness role-playing games are for certain types of players. They aren't necessarily aimed at your 5e D&D players, Pathfinder 2nd Edition players, things like that. Agile Monk mentions Werewolf the Apocalypse. I could have swore there was a new edition that came out recently. I might be wrong. So there you have it. Last thing I wanted to mention is that, well, okay, 2 quick things. I was talking about how March, I was going to try to roll out a new review every day of the month. I am not going to do that. I am going to do that in April. And the reason why I mention that is because I will have a bunch of other stuff kind of going on. Not to say there won't be review videos, just won't be a new review video every day, or as I mentioned yesterday, a new review from the gaming gang every day, because I do have some reviews from Sammy Uhas that I can get out there. Symborum, actually, some Symborum related reviews. And one of the reasons why is because I'm going to do the game sale. So March 1st, I'm going to do the game sale, and shipping stuff out to people takes time. It's not like magic where it's like, bing. So I have to package stuff up, and, you know, I have to make sure that, you know, I have enough, you know, like shipping popcorn and stuff like that so things don't get damaged in the shipping. So there is that. And of course, as I mentioned yesterday, there is going to be the March Madness. I have 64 tabletop role-playing games that are all going to compete to be the last role-playing game standing, which I will then be running in April. So that's news to Elliot. It's even if Elliot's going to be part of it. Who knows? Because I might actually be doing it online. I have no idea. But that is going to kick off on the 1st of March. But I'm actually going to share the links to the 2 divisions here on YouTube in our community section after the show tomorrow night. So if you follow the Gaming Gang, you're going to be able to get into the voting early. And I want to say the first round runs through March 7th. So then we will move on to the next round. And of course, I will share this on Twitter and Facebook, and I'll mention it on the upcoming shows when time is running out. So yes, I have 64 tabletop role-playing games all going at it. And it's like a March Madness. So I have 32 matchups. It's going to, weed them down. And I had shared a couple of pictures of just some of the matchups because it's nearly impossible to fit all 32 of the games in each division in an image that you can actually take a look at on like Twitter or Facebook. Because Facebook and Twitter don't allow you to like zoom in on images. So anyway, somebody on, I think it was Facebook, had commented, "You've got Boot Hill going up against the Black Hack 2nd edition?" It's like, it's all random, man. It's like, I wasn't going to sit there and seed all these games. So it is absolutely random. But there are some games in there that you might be kind of surprised are in the list. So you get to vote. So you'll get to vote for 32 games to start off with because it's like March Madness. You vote, and the winners move on. The losers are eliminated. So I thought that should be fun. So that'll be pretty cool. Chris Lundgren says, I'm really sad the Talisman Adventures role-playing game was discontinued. It was simple and fun, actually a really high-quality role-playing game. Part of it had to do with its publisher really not promoting it the way it should have been promoted. Something else I think held it back is it's based on a board game. And traditionally, role-playing games based on board games just don't do all that well. Just like we've got Root from Magpie Games. They've released the core book. I think they've released a couple of supplements. I don't see that really going anywhere either. And the actual board game series is very, very popular. I don't know. I never took a look at it, to be honest. I did not take a peek at it. That is why if you are interested in role-playing games that are going to be losing their licenses or they're going to be discontinued, it's always a good idea to try to get them at least in PDF so that you're, not out of luck. Death's Angel Shadow says they jumped on the Kickstarter for the Monty Python game. I assume you're talking about the Monty Python role-playing game, which we should get an opportunity to take a peek at because that is from the same folks behind Dr. Grodbort's scientific adventure violence role-playing game, Crowbar Creative, and we just got a copy of that I shared a first look at. So Wild Hunter says, Talisman, we love the nostalgia, but nobody plays anymore. Yeah, see, that's something else, too, is it's not a popular board game anymore. I don't even know who publishes it anymore. I know it was with Games Workshop for a while, but I don't think that's it. Oh, so Death Angel Shadow says, no, this was the board game. It's not something I was, oh, you know what? Now I remember. Yes. Actually, I think Crowbar Creative has something to do with that too. All righty then. So that is it for this time out. So if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here at 7 p.m. Central on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my upcoming first look at the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 starter set from Modiphius Entertainment. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you were watching live and took part in chat, a far bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company. And two big thank yous for our two big super chatters. Yeah, I don't really do the super car all that well. You notice I try to do that when it's a super chat. I try to go super chat. It's just not doing it. But thank you very kindly for those super chats. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow. And once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.